Welcome back to the Stop Snitching podcast.
Yeah.
Nathan
B-Rock.
in the building. B-Rock
Baby, with my fruit snacks.
in the building with the Welch's fruit snacks. Yo, what's the best flavor though? Those aren't the best flavor.
No, I'm all Haribo.
No, out of Welch's fruit snacks.
Though.
Hold those
I
up
like
for the
these.
people.
I like these.
The blue ones are very traditional. The thing that I think the tropical flavor.
Oh,
you know, there's like that like light purple, pink. They got they got different design gummies and better tropical flavors overall.
You the expert.
And those, and you get those mixed with the fruit punch ones. The fruit punch ones are fire.
Those are probably my favorite because fruit punch is like always my favorite flavor.
The fruit punch is a smash hit.
Yeah,
100%.
banging though.
But these are, I think those are the only ones. Adriana bought like 2 of like the whatever, those 50 packs, the bricks. Those things easily weigh like 4 pounds.
Yeah.
When you're holding the box.
They're big.
It takes up the whole lower level of the cabinet.
What do we got here?
Well, here, this is the broke man's La Croix.
Okay. Word.
Target makes their own.
Bet.
Yeah, everyone has their own sparkling water.
Strawberry mangoes are great flavor.
This is pretty good. Here, we can cheers to this.
All right.
1, 2, 3. Stop snitching.
Man. All right, so I think, you gave me some good news today, man. So we're at almost 2 milestones
Yes.
in our podcast.
2
So
milestones, baby.
we are almost at 100 subscribers on YouTube and 100 followers on Instagram, which is pretty cool
Woo! Yes, sir.
because it's all organic. So it's like,
Super organic.
yeah.
And you got me, a bum, running it.
The fact that like at least 100 people, well, the 100 subscribers is crazy because it's kind of like followers can like accumulate, but like 100 subscribers, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
So shout out to like all our subscribers out there,
Dude, thank
all
you
the
to
followers.
everybody.
It's dope, man. Like it's dope that 100 people like rock with the podcast like that. You know what I'm saying?
And I think we've talked about that before where it's like, especially with something like what we do where, well, I'm super excited where soon, hopefully, we'll have a new studio because there's going to be a lot of changes coming very soon, and that's going to make everything a lot better. But like for what we do, without even like the full setup, like the magnitude of what at least I think we can pull off, let alone if we're both like in a people, whatever. Anyone who's been here understands. There's not a lot of stuff that you can do. We have maximized the amount of space in this
like
little room right here.
For real.
So I'm just, dude,
I mean,
I'm so
we've had
pumped.
3 cameras in here. Like, especially when we get a guest, we'll have like 4 cameras. Like, it's
2,
crazy.
3 lights.
Yeah.
Yes, all this stuff. Like,
And
it
it's
could
like
definitely be
small
overwhelming.
space. Yeah, but dang, 100 and 100, bro.
And we're probably gonna hit them both today, like at the same time,
Yeah.
which is
I
gonna be
think
dope.
we got to do something special for whoever those 100 people are. Like,
Oh, the
I
100
don't know
sub?
what to do. Maybe like we start making some shirts and send it, or I don't know.
That could be dope.
Yeah, something like that.
We gotta start making some mugs.
Yeah, bro.
Because your boy got the logo now. Like we're ready.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, like you're saying, the 100 subs, like any, obviously, like I've been super big into YouTube for like as long as I can remember, and I like all the biggest creators. They always say they're like from 0 to 100
it's hard.
is hard.
Yeah.
What's harder is like 100 to 1,000.
Yeah.
But then like the 1,000 to 10,000, but 10,000 to 100,000, it gets easier as you go because you have this bigger and
at
bigger
that
and
point
bigger
you're
platform.
rolling, and like you have a shtick, as they say, and you have a flow. When you're just starting, it's like you don't really know. Especially with us, we talk about anything. There's podcasts that are like really specific. So
like 20 minutes of DMX.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
so because they're specific, they attract a certain crowd and they can build it faster. With us, it's just like we just talk about anything. So it's like,
But yeah, bro. Like, actually, I didn't even tell you this. My mom was like taking a walk in our neighborhood,
okay,
and if you're watching the podcast, then you know who you are. I don't want to blow you up like that.
Okay.
But it's like a neighbor, like a kid that we were never friends with because he's younger than us, but now he's probably, I don't know, 17, 18 years old.
Oh, he's a follower?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know any of this.
Yeah.
She called me. Yo, you'll love the story. She called me. She's like, I was just taking a walk, and then, this kid came by, which, if you know my mom, she's definitely like a local celebrity, I would say. Everybody knows who my mom is. So he came up, said hi, said he was going to school for like media production and like design and stuff like that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And then like was like glowing apparently about the podcast. Like I've never talked to this person basically ever in my whole life, and was like watches, listens, like really, really, really like loved the content. And it's someone like that close to us. And then my mom was like, oh my gosh, that's so great. And then as she walked away, she was like, don't forget to subscribe.
Now she's with it, man.
It's like, so it's mad cool. Yeah, dude. Like I've had a couple of those scenarios just like locally. People come up and they're like, yo, like we really, like it is cool. It's cool that you guys are doing something like that. And like you said, I think because it's organic, like we're not in any point yet where I wouldn't be opposed to something like, you know, talking about a big topic, having videos. Like that's what I want it to grow into. Yeah. But for right now, like the fact that there's 100 people at all who want to like tune in, cool. It's really cool, bro. And I genuinely, like I said, that I appreciate like, and also like we appreciate all the feedback. Like I thank anybody who's like, yo, I liked hearing you talk about this or that or the third. Because like you said, we try to keep it so wide open because we don't know what people want to hear from us.
Yeah, we don't. But it also is like, because it's so open, it's like you kind of get your fix no matter who, like what kind of fan you are. It's like, if you want to talk about music, cool. If you want to talk about movies, cool. Current events, cool. Like, just chop it up. I think those are the best podcasts, though. Like, Joe Rogan's probably, like, we always talk about him. He's probably the best, where it's just, like, general. It's, like, it doesn't matter what the topic is. Like, let's just talk about it, you know?
Well, yeah, to get, like, an expert on.
Yeah, and that's what I want.
I do. I want someone
guests.
like that,
Yeah, having guests and who all do different things, you know? And I think we've done a great job with that, like just getting a bunch of different people on the podcast.
Definitely, man. But I don't know. I also, like I always said, I like being able to come back to just stuff like this. Yeah. Because, like, without someone, like, actively all the time looking to, like, pursue people to come on the podcast, and we already know scheduling that shit can be tough, hard. Where you're, like, obviously everyone has different schedules, and, like, you got to coordinate it. It's nice.
That's a topic in itself, because it's like, and I think that's one of
Brandon needs a talent booker.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important once you get to a certain level, because we're in our infancy stage. So it's like, you know, you come on a podcast because you really just want to come on. It's not like you're going to get 1 million followers from it or 1 million views. So there's a upside to that, but the downside is you may not prioritize it as much as we would. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, it, you know, like you're not gonna.
Well, because it's a fun bonus thing. Yeah, we're not relying on the guest, but when the guest does come through,
it's always good.
You know, like by the time this comes out, they'll have seen George's. Yeah, and like that was amazing content. Yeah. That was like one of the like, oh shit, I could have gone on for another hour about this, and I'm like, oh okay, like there's definitely true value in that, but you also got to come back and like. A lot of the podcasts that I love to listen to now, they have guests, but like I don't think we are doing this that way. But like they made like, or podcasts I've listened to, they've made active decisions like for 2 years no guests. Like we are just gonna like cultivate this based on like a love for this platform, this show, and then later on when you do have all of that clout, then you can bring other people on because then you know it's not reliant on the guest.
Well, I think with us, it's like, it's not like we're having celebrities in here. It's like just people that...
Not opposed to it, though.
Yeah. I mean, if we do happen to know a celebrity, like, of course, but it's like, you know, we're just having our homies here who just happen to do, like, interesting things.
Isn't that, like, really cool? I've always thought about that. I'm like, yeah, all my friends are, like, very interesting, and, like, no matter what they do, they have, like, good personalities. Yeah. But then when you think about it from that perspective, I'm like, oh, yeah, damn, like, we really do know some very cool people. Like, people I'm just like, oh, yeah, right. Yeah, you're my friend, but you also do happen to do this like very interesting thing that I guess people would be interested in.
For sure. And we got Matcha in here.
Matcha
She's always going to make an appearance. So, dude. You know, Nate has 2 cats, Matcha and Pika. Pika's the chill one. Like, she doesn't really like the spotlight like that, but Matcha is like all for it.
Matcha
she is just like...
Every single time when I'm setting this up, she stands directly on the center of the table while I put everything together.
Gotta love it, though, man.
But hey, man, so we gotta talk. Brandon and I, obviously, very big movie fans.
Yeah, we were back, man. It felt good.
We were back in the movies.
It felt good, man. It felt good to just, like, walk in a theater and just, like, watch something like that on the big screen, like the way it's supposed to be watched. You know, I think we can get complacent being at home, and it's hard to really, unless you have like a studio setup and like surround sound speakers, you can't really get the feeling that the movie intended. But when you go to a theater, it's dark. It's like it just adds that extra oomph to the movie.
Well, also the type of movie. Yeah, so we went and saw A Quiet Place 2.
So wait,
did you go back and watch 1?
No, not yet. So that's why I was gonna say,
which was crazy, bro. We're literally sitting in the movies. I'm like, "Oh, are you so excited?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I didn't even see 1."
Yeah.
I was like, "What are you talking about?"
I was just so hyped to see a movie. I'm like, all right, like whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's just see it. But like, I would say, like, you can like kind of like give a brief.
No, I think one of our favorite. Now I can throw this back on you.
Yeah.
What's your first impression of it? Because you had no idea, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No idea. It was incredible. It was incredible. Like, my favorite thing, and I think, like, I was even saying during the movie, I'm like, yo, these shots are, like, super dope and detailed. Like, that's my favorite part of the movie, like, how detailed everything is. So, but before I get into it, like, give them a summary, because then it'll, like, go into, like what are, like, some of my favorite parts.
I guess it doesn't give away it for, like, A Quiet Place 1, which definitely, I would say, was, like Get Out, like, clout, like, very virally independent sensation of like, this is such a unique thing. So basically the story is something happens. Now there's these like aliens on Earth and it's quiet. You can make no sound because these monsters like attack based on sound, so they can't see, but as soon as you go even a little like rustle of a footstep, you know, they're there, instantly kill you, take you out. So it's like this last family that's there. So the first one is they figure out the monsters and how to basically beat them. And then the second one, they give you a little bit of like a prelude where you see what life was like before. But now it's life after this family took a loss. And then it's not only saving themselves, but, you know, more like saving the world.
Right.
Like, or at least America.
Right. So then... Now, in my mind, I don't know any of this. So, like, I get the gist that they have to be quiet, and then the monsters are, like, they don't have the ability to see. But, like, you know, I'm sure you can ask your mom, when you lack an ability, like, every other thing is heightened. So these monsters are, like, first of all, they look scary, like, legitimately scary. I couldn't watch some of it. I'm like, yo, what are these things? Because they don't have a face. It's like...
Yeah, their face opens up.
Scales or something like that, and then it's just a mouth. Like, it's just a huge mouth, and it's, like, legitimately, like, scary. Like, you know how some, like, you know, when we first seen aliens in movies, they were, like, these little creatures, like...
Oh, yeah, no, these things are terrifying.
Not scary at all. And now it's like, oh, like, if that thing pulled up on us right now, I would be done. Like, just because you can't look at it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, kudos to them on, like, just the design of those monsters. It's like a...
Yeah.
It's like just the design of the monsters, no face, and then they had like these crazy spider legs, like they had like spears as like their feet. Like, it was just like, yo, you can literally like see if this happened in real life, like, yeah, everybody's done.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. The second thing was I automatically picked up, like, you know, you had to be really quiet around them, and that's where the sound design of the movie came in, because the movie was like very like subtle. Like, it wasn't loud at all. Like, I know we talked about Tenet and how loud it was.
Oh, my God.
But this was, like, the exact opposite, where everything was just, like... It's almost like it was muted because it had to be. But it made every detail that much, you know, better.
Yeah.
And my favorite parts when, like, they were walking outside and you just see these tight shots of their feet walking by. Like, they're just battered up. And it's just, like, every step is, like... There's no music, but you feel the tension because it's if something happens... Like, it's a wrap for you. Like, if you happen to, like, you know, how you try to walk through a fence, and if you, like, happen to catch on, it makes it, like, that's the moment. And then it's, like, everything is hell after that. Like, that was my favorite part of the movie because of, like, how intentional it was in that way.
And where it's funny how, like, normally in movies you have, like, all this empathy toward the characters. Like, oh, my God, no, you know, don't let that happen, don't let that happen. But then, like, in specifically this context of, like, A Quiet Place, it's like... You know, something horrible happens to one of the characters where they're severely injured.
Oh my God.
And they're screaming, and I'm just like, shut up, bro.
But it can't hurt that bad. If you're in that moment, you can't, because it's like, you literally just like got your ankle chopped off. Like, you can't not.
But you're looking at him like, shut up.
Yeah, because this thing is about to... Oh my God. But that's like, it was like the contrast of like quiet to like just intentionally like, just like the intensity of like how horrific it was, like, and it wasn't even the thing, like, it was like Jaws, right? Like, it wasn't, the thing wasn't Jaws coming like actually coming up. It was like the anticipation of coming.
The lack of like the lack of the sound, like that theme of the movie is the main character.
Yes.
It's all revolving around this idea. And then what you said is, if you got to see the first one, like when I saw it in the theater, the whole thing was that it was like a social experiment. Because, you know, in the movies, a lot of times people can be loud or they're laughing or they're but when everyone needs to be so quiet because there's no sound. Right. For like that first movie, I think it was like 30-40 minutes where there was no sound.
Oh, wow.
And you just have to,
so that's even
you
more
gotta
intense.
play along. Yeah, it's like you don't want to be the guy eating popcorn. You don't want to be the guy drinking a soda. Like everyone is just
you're
waiting.
Like on edge.
And you're
and that's so amazing because it's like once you see the thing, it's like, all right, but it's like you just want to know when it's gonna pop out, because when it happens, it's like fast and it like it like jolts you. Like you have no choice but to be scared because it's so damn quiet, and then you make like, I mean, it could be the creaking of a door. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? There's a scene where she's trying to get into the like bathroom door and she's trying to like slide in, but something happens and then it just comes and it's like, oh snap!
And you know it's gonna happen too.
Yeah, you like, know it, but you're like, when is it gonna happen and what's gonna happen? Because when these things like hear something, it's like instant death. Like they just stab you, go to the next. Like it's crazy, and I'm like, dang. So like, the attention to detail in that way in terms of sound was amazing. And I was even telling you, like, another favorite part of mine was like how synchronized everything was, like because the family ends up splitting up and having to like fight two different monsters. But it's like, if I don't want to give it away, but if one character sets something on fire, then in the other scene something gets lit on fire. Like it was kind of like a
it's direct cause and effect.
Yeah, they were like playing off each other. Like if a door closed here, then a door opened in another scene. Like that was like some of my favorite parts. And I always think like, you know, like shout out to like all the writers and stuff who like think of that.
And John Krasinski wrote and directed both of them.
Yeah.
So, you know, people think of him from The Office and like comedy.
But now he's big time.
Oh man, I love that stuff where you like you see these people have this whole other. That's like Jordan Peele, right? Like with Get Out. Like he's a comedian. Like
but now
you're
really
gonna write
like,
this horror film and it's super good.
Nah, they're really about this life for real. I was thinking on the way here. I was thinking about the evolution of like aliens and how it's depicted in movies, and the one like a common thing that I've seen in these monsters is that when they hear shrieking sound, like it paralyzes them. Like I've seen that in so many movies, and I wonder why. Like, you know, directors always use like it's always like a shrieking sound that like just they can't shake. Like they're just these horrifying things, and you can't face it one-on-one. But if there's like a sound that they don't like, it's like it totally paralyzes them. And I was like, where did that come from?
Well,
because I would have to pull up. Like I know, like I don't know the like specific movies, but I've seen it before where it's these terrifying creatures. But if you just like turn up a radio, it like.
Well, right, it's like water or sound. It's like these very simple things that it takes a long time for us to get to because we're so scared of them that you can't interact with them at all. But, all right, so this is a spoiler alert right here. So just keep that in mind. But I was talking to my mom about the movie, and she hadn't seen it either. She hates anything scary or whatever like that. But you know how basically the whole thing is about her cochlear implant. So it's not actually a hearing aid. It's a cochlear implant, which is where, whatever. It's a very hot topic within the deaf community. We don't have to get into that. Oh, wow, but oh my God. We could have my mom on. It could be like a 3-hour long podcast about that. But the whole thing is that there's feedback, right? Very generically from this, what in the movie is shown more as like a hearing aid, but it truly is a cochlear implant because that girl, she's really deaf.
Yeah.
So that's like a big thumbs up in the deaf community. They love that, obviously. Like you're showing a true...
Oh, you mean like the actual actors?
Yeah, like she's really deaf.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So Millicent, I think that's her name. Super A-list celebrity in the deaf community. So, you know, let's go.
No, she's
but that whole feedback thing, when I told my mom about that, she's like, oh, that's funny. Cochlear implants have no feedback.
Oh, she's like the expert. Yes.
I was like, are you serious? She's like, yeah. I was like, wow.
That reminds me. So
that shows you if you know enough about stuff, you watch these movies, you're like, Okay, that's the movie magic right there, but that's not real.
Yeah, that reminds me of this guy. He was like a former mob boss, and he's like reviewing all the mob movies, and he's like he's like Goodfellas, like movies we all like love, and he's like, that's not real. And it's so nonchalant, but it's
like,
because
no shot.
He's lived that life. It's just like your mom knows that so much that she's like, oh, like that wouldn't happen.
Yeah,
and it's just kind of
not even that it doesn't happen. Like, it's literally impossible. Yeah, like that does not happen.
To us, it's like, oh, that's so smart, and your mom's like, that wouldn't happen. That's not real.
So that's why I was like, oh. Well, I guess if enough people knew that, then that's just instantly, there was no one in the writer's room who had anyone deaf in their life,
right?
Or had a cochlear implant who would have been like,
see, that
we got to find a different device.
Like, wouldn't you like want somebody who's an expert so like it makes sense? Because you can make that make sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. They could have used a different thing, but no.
To us, it was just like, oh, that's brilliant.
Right.
Dang, that was smart.
And then I was like,
in the movie, like, yeah, that wouldn't happen.
She's like, it just wouldn't happen because that literally does not do that. It's like a bicycle does not fly.
Right,
like, it just doesn't. Right. That's not what its purpose is. I mean, I was like, man, she could have really fucked up John Krasinski in the writer's room and like, so this movie's dope.
Yeah, but it's not.
But none of this will really work because that doesn't happen. Yeah. You're like, oh. But I guess Hollywood, they're selling it to the 95% of people. Right, they don't care.
We don't care.
Yeah, we don't care.
It's just the ingenuity of the moment. And I think, like, with horror films like that, like, no matter if you look in history, it's like always the arc of the story is, when they first appear, these monsters are terrifying. But the more you see anything, you get used to it. And they're not terrifying anymore. You kind of just, like... Now it's like a cat and mouse game with these, because they like there's a scene in the movie where there's a board and they have like the pros and cons of the monsters. So obviously, like, we all know the strengths of these things, but the weaknesses are they can't hear.
They can hear, but
it's they
like
can't
sound.
see. Yeah, they can't see. Mm-hmm. They can hear, but they can't see, and they don't like water.
Oh yeah! Oh my God!
You know what I'm saying? Which plays a big role in the movie.
That was the craziest scene.
Yeah. So it's like. When we first encounter these things, we're just like, how do you stop it as a human? But then it's like we have strength as humans as well. Like, we have our ingenuity that these monsters don't have. We can think on our feet. Like, there's different things that we have over the monsters. And now the more you see it, like, you've seen the most, like, what it's going to do. Like, it shows you everything it's going to do. Now it's like, all right, now we can kind of use our brains to kind of think like, all right, how could we use their weaknesses against them? And then obviously in the end, they finally face their fear, quote unquote, and just go for it.
Go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed it. I think I'm surprised they made a second one. I guess like the first, like there's no Get Out 2. Yeah. It's like,
Well, was it like the second movie totally different from the first, or just kind of like an extended?
Like like when you go back and watch the first one, you realize the first one was like its own thing. This second one, because the way that the first one ends, whatever, it doesn't give it. At this point, if you haven't watched the first one, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. But at the very end, John Krasinski is killed. Like, he saves his family and he dies. I don't know if you got that from the movie the whole time. Yeah. Like, he's dead, but how he died is one thing. Yeah. So that's the shock value at the end, where I'm pretty sure he makes a giant sound, and then they come and get him to give his family enough time to get away to do the hearing aid thing, and then it all goes from there. But you really don't think that he's going to basically kill himself to let his family get away.
Well, that was a theme in the second, because even the one guy, he like got in the car and he started honking the horn because they're just going to chase the sound. So it's like a sacrifice. Like, in order to lure these monsters away, you have to kind of like put yourself out there and just make as much noise as possible, but like have like kind of like an escape plan. Yeah. But the guy ends up getting like killed,
smoked.
Like like I'm just like, dang, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, it's just interesting. Like, these movies are different, but they're the same. Like, it's always the same kind of story.
Well, I think like when the reason like I thought A Quiet Place is so interesting is because of their use of sound. Like, I love that people don't even think about that, like in the movies. Like the idea that, okay, so you can be in a restaurant and there's music playing in the restaurant and it's background music, but then the phone rings and then that's a different music. Sometimes the characters are unaware of sound that we're aware of, and there's this whole play on that type of environment. But with this one, with a deaf character, and then hearing characters, and then the monster characters, you hear sound from all these different perspectives.
Yep.
And it's so scary because they'll lock in on the girl,
Yeah.
and then you see her perspective where, like you said, scary movies aren't scary if you just mute it. Right? If you just watch it, it's visually, it's not scary. It's the music, it's the sound, it's, to bring it out. So I loved that. And then, like you said, they had some really interesting camera movements and angles and changes from in a car through the window to the monster back to him walking around, and you're like, whew, I don't even know how you start on something like that.
There's always that establishing the monster scene where they just like roar and you just see like everything. I'm like, I had to do this.
Yeah.
Like at certain points I was like, I can't watch it. Like that's legitimately scary. Like nobody wants to see that.
They're paying those CGI
mouth,
guys.
Like when it did that, the mouth was pulsating. Like it was like real. And I'm like,
so the face of the monster, at least from what I see, is like, it's like a sound wave. So when it's really intense, its face opens up and then it's all pulsating and vibing. And then when not, it's doing this little clicking, and you see the little sound movements around. It's like just like sonar. Like it's just kind of taking it all in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's scary.
It's
bro.
creepy.
It's very very scary. Like it's, you almost like wish it wasn't real, because like you know how you can like put things into reality. Like I was like, if that ever touched this earth,
I'm out.
We wouldn't know what to do, because it's just like
no way.
But yeah, this though definitely, I'll say this will definitely win the sound design award at the Oscars though, or it'll definitely be.
You think by next year?
Yeah, the way like bro, the way they like, it's how not intense. It's how like intent that they are in how they use the sound. So it's like how they go from the girl's perspective. Like when we're looking at the girl from her perspective, everything is muted. Like you can't hear, you know, like literally you can't hear anything. It's like everything is just like muffled. But then it goes into like the monster perspective, everything's like heightened. And then it's like from the monster perspective, and it's calm. And then the little boy who ends up being like kind of the hero, but through the movie's annoying as hell, because he's just the one that's like just doing everything you're not supposed
crying,
to do.
bitching.
Yeah,
like,
come on, everything
man.
You're not supposed to do, this boy is doing. Like literally making all the mistakes, but he's the one that ends up, you know, growing some courage in the end, and he like pretty ballsy move what he did. You know, he just finally was like, F it, I'm just gonna
time for me to grow up.
So it was cool.
So you're giving it like out of 4 stars?
Out of 4?
Is it out of 4 or 5? Out of 5 stars?
I would say like definitely 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say 4, really 4.5.
Yeah,
only
really
because
good.
I think when you see the first one, you'll be like, oh, the first one's
that
like
was
5. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, it's hard to make sequels though, especially when the first one is like a cult hit like that. It's hard to make a sequel.
That's why I'm so surprised that they even did it.
Yeah,
but let's get that money.
Sure.
Stop snitching. But I would say, outside of the movie thing, we're finally basically kind of sort of watching at the same general timeline of a TV show.
Yep.
The West Wing.
The West Wing, classic. Classic.
It's a show that I like grew up. I think I always heard my parents saying like they were watching it and they liked it, but I never knew what it was.
That's how I felt about Sopranos. Like it's like a show that you always heard about.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. We talked about that maybe weeks ago, but you finished it.
Oh yeah.
The people never got the final review.
It's the best show ever, bro. Like literally the best show ever. It's like it lives up to like the billing and more, because it's just like the writing, obviously the characters are all like amazing, and like, there's just so many things about it.
It's like people love The Godfather, right? It's like, but imagine you got to watch The Godfather for 8 years,
right?
And it's just that great story just keeps going.
Yeah. And then it's the podcast too, the Talking Sopranos podcast.
Oh yeah,
like where they actually break it down episode by episode. Like it's amazing. It's like crazy how those things are like once in a lifetime, right? Where you just like hit on all cylinders from the beginning. And Sopranos is one of them, and then West Wing is another one where it's just like, I mean, obviously it's done by Aaron Sorkin, so the writing is already incredible.
Yeah, the writing is OD.
The dialogue, right? The dialogue is just incredible in so many ways. And I didn't know what to think of the West Wing at first, because I'm like, you know, like I knew Rob Lowe because he's Rob Lowe, but I didn't know like
he's so young though.
Like you know what I'm saying. But I didn't really know the other people, and like you know, Allison Janney, who plays C.J. Craig, she's obviously like big time now.
Yeah, but it's really only her and Rob Lowe. I don't
Well,
know
Martin Sheen,
Oh,
the
well,
president.
yeah, Martin
he's like
Sheen,
the patriarch of the Sheen family, which is crazy. Like it's
Yeah.
him, it's Charlie Sheen, then Emilio Estevez is his son too.
Right.
Like it's a crazy acting family, and he's like the father, and he kills it. But it's just like all the like in the Sopranos, like every character like plays their role so well that they're all main characters in it. Like there's no one like that's totally above the others. Just like everybody is just like so good in their role.
Well, that's what I think is so interesting about The West Wing is that I don't know if I could say there's one main character. I don't think there is a main character.
In Sopranos we know who it is.
Right, it's Tony.
Yeah.
But it is fair to say that after Tony, by the time you get to the end of that show, I would say maybe Tony isn't even the main character.
Yeah,
I mean, there's these giant storylines that are like, hold on, like I could not see Tony for 2 episodes. Like I'm invested in this here. Like what is happening? Well,
at the season 7, there's those scenes where Tony's just in the bed, you know. So
right,
he's not like he's not like the main thing. It's like everything around him is what becomes the main thing. But in the West Wing from the beginning, it's like everybody's like kind of the star. They all have like their role. Like I was reading up on something like Josh Lyman's role is to kind of fill the audience in on like everything that's happening and putting it in like layman's terms, because you know how people like always go to him to ask him about what's going on. And like if you know anything about Aaron Sorkin, it's like he's almost too smart with what he says, so it's like you're listening, you're like I know it sounds good, but I don't really know what it means. Like it's just so
the
much
vocabulary is like next level.
And then like, Josh Lyman is the character that kind of brings it back to earth. He's like, oh, like he explains it in like the simplest terms, so you're like, oh, okay, that's what's going on, and now we can carry on. That is true.
Episode. I never thought about that. Yeah. They always come to him, and he's like, okay, so China wants to bomb us.
Yeah, exactly. Like yes, it's Josh. Just simple, like to the point. You know what I'm saying? Like CJ Craig is saying all this to the press, and it's like smart or whatever. And Rob Lowe is just like an encyclopedia on the show. Like he just knows everything. But Josh Lyman is the one that's like you said, like Rob Lowe might have explained that in a like sophisticated way, but Josh is like, nah, China's trying to bomb us. That's really what's going on, right. And we have to figure out how to not make them bomb us. You know, so like I appreciated that about the show, for sure.
I think that like a show like that, for it to go it's like 7 or 8 seasons,
yeah, 7.
And it's like 16 episodes a season.
Yeah,
it's so many.
Yeah,
and like I want to know what was the pitch, because like on paper it sounds boring as hell. Like
behind the scenes of the White House.
Yeah, it's just like, so we're gonna listen to people talk about like problems all the time.
If
and, like,
you remember
stuff.
that you know, The West Wing came out in '99, and you remember the 2000 election was one of the most like controversial.
Right, that was the
Bush.
Was that Bush Gore? Was that the Florida thing?
That was Bush and Gore. So it's like people were already in tune to like what really goes on, because that's after Clinton.
I want to make sure we get that right. Yeah, go ahead.
It was Bush Gore. It was Bush Gore, but that's after Clinton, right? Mm-hmm. Who obviously had all these scandals and whatnot, and then it's Bush Gore, and then they have all their scandals within the election. So like, what actually goes on behind the scenes in the White House was like a really, really, really big topic.
And then it goes into 2001.
Yeah,
right?
which is like 9/11.
Yeah, patriotism is at an all-time high.
So it's very relevant. So it's like I could see why it would be like I think it probably was an easy pitch, honestly, just because of the climate of the time. Like,
well, you know what I was thinking is like, hold on, let me pull this up, because when I was also thinking about when Aaron Sorkin. If you haven't gotten this, we're both very big fans of his. But
I think many people are. They just probably don't know.
Yeah, they don't even realize it. Because that's what I was looking at, is like his IMDb. Like he I think he only did All the President's Men prior to this. Mm-hmm. Or, sorry, A Few Good Men.
Yeah, A Few Good Men.
So he did A Few Good Men in 92. And then I'm 99% sure the next thing, he really has all hits. Yeah, A Few Good Men, which was already political. Yeah. And then his next big thing was The West Wing.
Yeah.
So it's he does a lot of stuff with, I didn't even think about that. Like recently he's gotten away from like politics. Mm-hmm. Well, until he did Trial of the Chicago 7, then he got right back into it. But yeah, he's I love it. I always describe it as like everyone in the room is the smartest person in the room.
Yeah,
like the
that's
back and
a great
forth.
way
You're just
to
like
put it.
watching like ping pong or tennis. You're like,
that's a great.
Oh,
way
he
to
got
put
him.
it.
Oh no, he got him. Oh no, he got him. Oh no, he got him. And you're just,
and I wonder
whoa.
if it's actually like that because like they all have their specific roles, but it's almost like they have to know everything to do their job.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't matter if you're the communications guy or if you're CJ who's the press secretary or like they all, or if you're Leo and you're the chief of staff, like you all have to know every single thing because like everybody's job is just as important. Like Leo and the president are making the decisions, but it's just as important that CJ puts it out in a good way in the press because in the press will kill the president and then that lowers the approval rating and then that may alienate this group of people in this state, which you need to win the election. Like there's so many different like kind of lines that like intertwine in that way.
Dude,
so
I can't even. It seemed like watching it is fun. It seems like the most unfun thing that you could ever be.
And you really see that in CJ's character. CJ's character is easily the most stressed because she has to relay this information to the press, who's already out to really get get the whole.
They're always trying to get something.
Yeah, so you have to like do this in the perfect like. You have to phrase it perfectly. You cannot mess up.
You slip up one word, and she walks off, and they're like, "We got to go into damage
control." And then,
control.
like this president, if you watch the show, this president is already kind of difficult to deal with in general. Like he's kind of like a smart aleck, like whatever. He's kind of like impulsive, like whatever. He's got his own issues going on, but it's CJ's job to like really put up the best front that she can to everyone. So it's just like she's on the verge, like where I'm at. I think you're in season 2, right?
Yeah, I'm at like the end of season 2.
Yeah, so I'm like at midway through season 3, and she's like damn near ready to quit her job. Like it's like,
oh really?
Yeah, I don't need this at this point.
This is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy because her job is the most it's the most urgent out of anyone else's. Like she has to do things on the fly, and she receives information on the fly. She has to relay that information in a specific way, and she needs everybody like approval to do it. And like it's just a tough job overall. So I can see like why she's so stressed.
Yeah. The show is addictive. Anybody who hasn't watched it, I would recommend it. Yeah. And like you were saying, I know The West Wing is prolific, like in the amount of time that it was on the air and everything like that.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, probably. Well, because was The Sopranos in '99?
Yeah, they both were in '99.
That's the same time, bro.
Yeah, like, and I was doing research. Like, award season, it was just Sopranos, West Wing. Like, and they were just like going head to head. Like,
oh shit!
Yeah, and it was interesting. Yeah, because The West Wing was on NBC, so it was a major network show. So obviously, if you watch The Sopranos, it was on HBO, which at the time was like still really new, especially in that space in terms of the TV space.
Well, that's why that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I'm sure you already researched this, but that The Sopranos was so impactful is because no one had ever. It was the first, like Netflix original.
Yeah.
Like HBO. And
now it's like kind of
never done. It had never been done before.
Yeah. Now network TV is kind of like secondhand to like anything that's on these like other kind of networks like HBO, Showtime. At that time, like the cast of The Sopranos looked at it like, oh, this isn't gonna work. It's on HBO. Like, we want to get on CBS. We want to get on here.
So funny,
but
right?
because of that, they were able to, like, show everything and curse and, like, The Sopranos, like, make it what it was. Meanwhile, with The West Wing, it had to be, like, kind of PG, right? Like, there's no cursing.
Yeah. I'm looking at it here. They got, like, 120 wins overall, but 26 primetime Emmys. Mm-hmm. It's the number 72 top-rated TV show on IMDb.
Oh, West Wing?
Yeah.
Was Sopranos 1 or something?
Oh, I think any list of any TV show of the greatest of all time. No, what's very interesting is, well, we like lists, clearly. Yeah. But anything that I've ever looked at for best TV shows of all time, The Sopranos is number 1. But what do you think comes up number 2 a lot?
Seinfeld?
Excellent. That as well, but The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah.
The Simpsons, I think, is the longest run maybe ever. Next to, like, 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
Well, fucking Simpsons have been, like, 28 seasons or some crazy shit.
Simpsons, you always get Seinfeld.
But like you said, this is the point I was trying to make. So, right, Sopranos and West Wing at the same time.
Crazy.
Lord.
Just competing.
Oh, my God. Yeah, right. And they're both, I think, that was, like, 8 o'clock and then 9 o'clock time slots, like, back-to-back.
Yeah, Sundays.
And then I'm trying to think after that, I would say, all time, like Breaking Bad, as in like prolific.
Mad Men.
Mad Men. I mean, Game of Thrones, regardless if you like how it ended, Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Like, there's probably in the last 20 years, maybe 10 shows that have, like, gone the distance like that, where everybody's watching at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, I know The West Wing was obviously super popular. Maybe it's overshadowed by The Sopranos, because, like, I remember going to sleep by like 8:30, no questions asked.
Because your parents wanted to
watch and The Sopranos were pre-DVR. If you missed it, you missed it. There's no stopping or remote no. Go to bed.
Yeah.
Mom and dad are watching The Sopranos. I remember that vividly.
It's
no
interesting
games.
because they just talking Sopranos just had Alec Baldwin on because he's like a super fan. And he was saying,
really?
Yeah. And he was saying, like, it was, like, religiously, like, Sunday nights, it was 60 minutes. I ordered the Chinese food, eat it, and watch The Sopranos. Like, I could not miss it. No matter what I was doing and where I was at, it's like, you could not miss this show.
Because everyone's going to be talking about it.
And, like, it's interesting because we talk about awards, and it's like, who do you think would have the upper hand in terms of award season between the two shows? Because, like, if you think about it like this, so the Sopranos had all these obstacles because, one, it was on HBO, but two, because it was depicting the mob. And that comes with, like, so much pressure because a lot of Italians didn't want to be portrayed in that way. And they ran into, like, a lot of obstacles because of that.
The West Wing has, I guess, 6 or 7 more primetime Emmys than The Sopranos, though. The Sopranos got 21.
I think maybe because it was, like, major network, maybe. So, and, you know, there's politics behind all that, too. So, it's like...
Yeah, it's neck and neck, but...
Yeah. Dang, that. They should do a documentary on that, as they haven't already. Just like the race between those two shows running at the same exact time. They're both 7 seasons, so they both ended around the same time. One's on NBC, one's
that
on
is
HBO.
True. Yeah, they're both...
they're both completely different shows. So it's like, it's cool.
I got to give it to The Sopranos. I could see myself falling off of The West Wing, like, in real time. Yeah. Being like, it's episodic in nature at times. Like, if I fall asleep during one or two episodes, I could keep watching like, I'm not going to miss that much with it. The Sopranos, you miss one episode, you might as well start from zero.
Right. Yeah,
like, so much happens. Yeah. There's no way.
It's more movie-like. Sopranos is, like, shot more like a movie, and West Wing is definitely, like, TV show, like... And like, sometimes, like I said, like, Aaron Sorkin's sometimes too smart for his own good, which is interesting because the writer of The Sopranos, David Chase, said when he was on Talking Sopranos, they asked him why did he make it, and he was like, well, one, he wanted to make a show that he would watch, but he also wanted to make something that, like, he assumed that the audience was just as smart as he was. Like, he wasn't going to dumb down anything. And I give Aaron Sorkin that credit because it's like, you know, some of the dialogue is just like, what are they talking about? But I think we're not supposed to know because it's like, that's how it probably is in the White House. Like, you're talking about foreign affairs one day and then you're talking about tax cuts the next, and you're, like, talking about all these things, and it's a lot to just, like, take in. Whereas with The Sopranos, it's kind of like, it's just kind of like all in the action, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and I thought that I appreciate The West Wing for what that is, but there is, like you said, there's a certain pace to it. Yeah. By the time you get to season 3, you understand, okay, that's a key word. Yeah. That's going to come back in the end. Yeah. This joke is cyclical. Yeah. They will come back to, like, but it's amazing because he never misses. That's the thing about Aaron Sorkin. Every single word matters. Yeah. It'll all come back.
He's a writer's writer. Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah. It's just like how it's so perfect that you're like, you did this for 160 episodes? Yeah. Like 160 hours of television? Yeah. But with The Sopranos, I think The Sopranos changed the game because that whole show is in the gray. There is no good guy or bad guy. Mm-hmm. Like, you root for the people that you, in real life, would think are the worst people ever. Yeah. And you're pulling for them.
That's what made Tony a legend.
And then you see these good guys trying to do their job, and you're like, oh, come on, man. Like, don't do it. Yeah. You know, like, kill him. Get him off. Get him off. Yeah. Like, and you find yourself with this, like, internal struggle where you're like, of course, these are all real people. Like,
it's more relatable. Do you choose? It's more like people you would see, like, every day, and it helped. Like, again, like, that's why I was, like, trying to weigh the advantages of one over the other. With The Sopranos, there was much more of a license to be free because it was like, it was a new network, new show.
And it is unedited. You do whatever you want. Yeah.
You know, if you listen to like David Chase's interviews, he's like, he just kind of said, F it. Like, I'm just going to do what I want. So it's like there was more freedom in it. Where I'm sure with Aaron Sorkin and working with NBC, it was like, there's a lot of like restrictions. Yeah. And it's talking about the presidency. So it's like already restrictions in general. So I think with The Sopranos, it was more of an experience because it was just like so open. You know, and we were able to accept the flaws of these characters because we could see them within ourselves. Like, at the time, in mob movies, we never saw, like, their personal lives. We just knew they were in the mob and they got it in. Mm. You know, this is, like, we get to see Tony's family and how it affects him and the fact that he goes to therapy, you know, which, like, in that community is a big no-no. Like, you go to therapy, you're crazy, and you're getting shot.
You are literally snitching.
Yeah, like, literally. You know, so it was like that, and just like how each character like took on their role, and I mean how James Gandolfini became like just this icon of icons, you know what I'm saying, just based off this one show. But I think it's because Tony was like relatable. Like, he had his strengths and he had his strengths, and he obviously had his weaknesses. You know, we just seen it play out every single episode.
They talk about like I should listen to that podcast. I mean, I love The Sopranos, but the interviews that I've seen with, I forget his name, but his son, who now has his own podcast with the daughter. As they do, like,
Robert
Eiler.
And Jamie Lynn Sigler.
Yes. Oh my gosh, good, man. Thank God. I've watched them on multiple podcasts or interviews in general talk about James Gandolfini. Yeah. And they're like, you got to understand, that man, and looking back on it, it is true. He's in every episode, basically every scene, and he talks the whole time. He's never not in any episodes. There's no time off, ever. He's working nonstop. They said they would get their scripts, and obviously with what they need, and his would be highlighted every single page. He's on every single line, every single scene, over and over and over again. And like, he's got to bring it every day with every character. And like, how exhausting that can be. And he just like never stopped, like owned it 100%.
And it took them towards like, they were saying in season 7, it took them like 17 days to do one episode. It took them 9 months to do that last season.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because just like, it's like a movie. Like, it's not like a show, it's like a movie. So
by that point the production is so
they shoot
big.
it out of sequence. They're on location. Like the West Wing, they're kind of just like in the White House, or the set that they built that was the White House. And the Sopranos are like, there's a time where they went to Italy, literally. There's a time where they go to New York. The Pine Barrens episode, which is like something I watched today, the podcast, they talk about it. They actually didn't shoot that in the Pine Barrens. They shot it in West Point, where the army is.
Really?
Yeah, they shot it in a forest up there.
Virginia?
It's in like upper New York, like upstate New York. Okay. Yeah. And they like stayed at a hotel, and the call time was 4 a.m. And like, there's just all these things because it's more like a movie.
Did they shoot that really in the winter? Like really outside? Really in the cold?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, early in the morning.
Yo. Yeah. So, I know the crew was pissed.
Yeah, so it's like The Sopranos, I think.
They shot it at 4:30 in the morning outside in the winter in the forest?
That's why it's so real, because it's like, dang, like they were really real out there, yeah. But I think that's why The Sopranos will always have that edge, because it's like, it was just so different from anything else. Now we see it all the time. Breaking Bad is shot like a movie. You know, it's really true. Yeah, like at that time, that was like unprecedented, like to shoot something like that. Because I think it was intended to be a movie at first.
The Sopranos?
Yeah.
Well, you know, they have the movie coming.
The prequel. The Many Saints of Newark or something like that.
Is that what it's? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Brandon got the exclusive access.
I think it's the Many Saints of Newark or something, but it's definitely Saints of Newark.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's
because James Gandolfini's son in real life is really playing him, right?
Yeah. So we get to see Uncle
Talk
Junior.
About pressure.
Yeah, we get to see Uncle Junior younger. We get to see Paulie Walnuts younger. Like, it's cool, man.
Man, that's going to be insane, bro.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that.
Would you go, like, looking back on it, is that the favorite, like, your favorite, at least, television show that you've watched, like, in full?
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you say is number 2?
Number 2, as far as television?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's hard.
Yeah. I don't really know. I mean, obviously, we talked about Succession. Billions.
That's what I thought you would say.
Yeah, Succession probably.
Succession's so early.
Billions is so dope too. Like
I've still never watched.
Yeah,
Billions.
you know it's like it's not underrated because like everybody loves it, but I didn't know Friends.
Oh,
have you ever like really watched Friends before?
No.
Yeah,
no,
it's really good.
I'm sure it's fantastic.
Yo, it's really good.
Yeah,
like, I can
sure.
see why people are like addicted.
Oh,
like,
have you like watched it?
Yeah, like watched the pilot because they just did the reunion and it's like plastered all over HBO Max. So I'm like, all right, let me watch the first episode, and I was like, cool, like it was dope. And then the second episode, I'm like, oh, like this is actually good. Like I can see why like girls love this.
It's there's shows like that I've never watched, like Sex and the City. I've never watched. I did watch How I Met Your Mother. Like I love that show. That's a great
I watched
show.
that too. That's
amazing. A great show.
You know what I haven't watched? Game of Thrones.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe we never talked about this. Oh man, Jesus. I mean,
I think it was one of those things.
There's so much information out there about it now, but
that I was just like kind of turned away from it because like everybody watching was talking about it, and that's how I guess I felt about Sopranos. I was like, it can't be that good. And
that's how I felt too.
Then you watch it and you're like, oh, like
it is.
People, but Sopranos is the only one that people watch like over and over because
they say it's more watched now than it was back then, right? It's streaming more now.
But it's like because of the attention and detail, you like miss things. So like, you know, I just watched it and I got done watching it like a month ago, but I'll start watching it again and like, oh, like I totally missed that part. Like I get it now. Because like after you see something for the first time, you're looking at it from a surface level, like I'm just watching it. But when you watch it again, you're looking like, all right, I know this story now. Let me kind of connect everything and see where it all intertwines. So,
did you ever watch Breaking Bad?
Nah, that's
man, that should be the next thing that you watch, bro. That once again is like, Bryan Cranston is just unbelievable. Like it's unbelievable writing and a great story, but his character development as you watch it happen like before your eyes, you're just like you're blown away by what this man
There's so
can
many.
do.
There's Mad Men. I want to watch Mad Men.
But I would say my second favorite after, I don't know, man. I didn't, obviously, a lot of people didn't like the way Game of Thrones ended, but I don't let that take away from it. I wasn't a huge fan of how Sopranos ended. Like, you know, that's a huge controversy, right? Like the way that the Sopranos ended, the fade to black.
Oh, wow. You wanted to see it play out?
Well, like when my parents watched it, I clearly have so many memories of this. I remember hearing them go, "What? Oh!" Like audibly, "What happened? What happened? What happened?"
Yeah.
Like everybody thought that the power went out, or and
then
the credits rolled, and you were like, "That's it?
That's how it ends.
That's how it ends." Like you like that because you like the movies that aren't feeding you. Like you appreciate that to a certain, not like totally leaving me on the boat to just figure it out for myself, but enough to like talk about whatever the ending is. I go back and forth with that ending, but I think the best show that I've ever watched from start to finish is Breaking Bad.
Oh wow.
It doesn't, there's no downside. It's only this just up. Just keeps going.
That's how I feel about Sopranos. Like, and people talk about the ending. I like it because it like adds to the mystique of the show. Like, because you had like it like carries on because you don't know, so it's left up to interpretation. And then you watch it again to see like if you could pick up on things to like see how it ended. Like, so I think it was smart. And like, you know, I really think you should watch that David Chase interview because he's kind of like, like, I wanted it to be like that. Like, it's just time for it to end.
Oh,
like,
is that what he said about that?
Like, I hate that answer, but I get it because it's like 7 seasons of just like watching, like just writing, and it's like, what more can you do? Like, if I think the show wouldn't be what it was if it was fed to us what happened to Tony. Like, there's a certain mystique about the mob, you know? Like, and there's this mystique about Tony. Like, we see him make these amazing decisions and we see him make these terrible decisions. So to end it, it's like, we don't want to know if Tony's a good or bad guy. We want to leave it up to interpretation. Like, what would have happened? Does everything work out, or does everything just like, does everybody get shot? Like, we don't know. You know? And I kind of like that.
Is there any theory that he's already dead in that last scene?
Well, they said it might be a dream sequence. That's like a common
That's what it
thing.
felt like to me when I watched it.
Yeah.
And when it ended, I was like, oh, okay. But I was waiting for a moment where like, and he wakes up.
Yeah.
Because that's what it felt like to me in the end. I was like, it's shot, that last scene is shot so differently than everything else. It's really that one shot of them at the table.
Yeah.
To the door, to the bathroom. It's really only these 3 shots, and you're just watching him basically go back and forth on it. And it felt surreal. It didn't
It
feel.
felt like he was wanting to get shot or something. Like it felt like he knew he was gonna die, but he just wanted his family to be back together one last time.
Yes.
You know, or it could be they made it out. You know what I'm saying? And they're just enjoying a meal at this diner that they love. Like it's crazy in that way. But yeah, definitely greatest show of all time though, for sure.
Well, here on our to end it, this is what I want to pull up the Rolling Stones 100 greatest TV shows of all time, because this is what I was looking at from before. We can get a quick opinion on this. Because if you look through it, bro, like there are so many shows on there. I'm like, damn, yeah, you're right. Those shows are probably fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Like, you know, SNL, stuff like that.
Yeah,
of course, these are the greatest things ever. But yes, okay, so at least from the Rolling Stones, number 5, Seinfeld.
Mm-hmm.
From 89 to 98, incredible. Number 4, they have Mad Men, which is true. That is the next show that I should probably watch after The West Wing.
Mad Men.
Number 3, they have Breaking Bad. Number 2, they have The Wire.
Oh, come on, The Wire.
That's a big miss on our part. The Wire is fire. I think I watched like, that was one of those things I watched like half of it, and then just life happened and I forgot. But yes, The Wire is incredible too. My dad loves The Wire.
Yeah, The Wire.
And then number 1's The Sopranos.
Yeah. Dang, so no Simpsons in that one, huh?
But I think The Simpsons was like a top 10 or like a top 15 or something like that.
The Wire.
Anyway, hey.
The Wire is like a cult classic.
Oh, yeah. The Wire is crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, hey, let us know what your favorite TV shows are, any recommendations, stuff like that. And, you know, you got anything else?
Nah. Shout out to whoever the 100th subscriber and follower is going to be.
Subscribe, listen,
like, get
follow.
us there, man. It's a dope thing. It's a dope accomplishment. So get us there.
And then we're on to 150, 200. Keep going.
We're on to 1,000. Now
yes,
we got to get to 1,000 somehow. But it's going to happen, though.
As always, thank you for watching, listening, subscribing. And always, stop snitching.